discussion tonight is going to be on NATO US alliances, and we're going to be discussing NATO US. For those of you guys that are on my channel for the very first time, you got to understand this is coming from an opinion of somebody who was a service member. I worked in different capacities in the service. I'm not going to go into that detail, but we are going to go into the detail in terms of what's happening in the world with NATO, the European Union, the Strait of Hormuz. What's the significance of NATO? Why the U.S. has it? Ukraine, the Iranian wars, the rocket launch. We're going to go into a lot of details tonight. So stay tuned. If you have questions, let's get started. Thank you for being here with me on the live. We're also going to discuss Haiti and France, some of the secrets that French has been holding back from Haitians, Dominicans, Caribbean, and people from around the world. And we're also going to be discussing tonight Spain, France, and some of the traitors that we have in the European Union that now have to be investigated more thoroughly. You know, and this is some of the fracturing issues that we're starting to see with NATO, France, and the United States is that we're starting to see the fracturing of the European Union as America seeks its alliances at the Strait of Hormuz. That's why President Donald J. Trump said recently that we need them, if they want to get oil, they could just go into the Strait of Hormuz and take the oil. You guys have heard that, right? On the so these are some of the reasons why you guys this is going on in the world. Thank you again for being on the live. If you like and share. But we're going to discuss, guys, with you, the situation geopolitically that is happening from across the world, across the pond, and more importantly, we're going to be discussing things that other channels don't discuss. You're going to be hearing it here for the very first time tonight. So stay tuned. This is a bit of breaking news. We do have some historical history with Haiti and Toussaint Louverture. So if you're here for Haiti and Toussaint Louverture, stay tuned. Be respectful on the live. I might bring a few people up to the panel. If you're Haitian and you want to discuss Toussaint Louverture, please make sure your profile does have a picture and you can discuss Toussaint Louverture. I do have some information on Toussaint Louverture that the French have not shared on why he was arrested. We do have some other secrets of French controlled Haiti. Some of the families that controlled Haiti prior to the independence in 1804. So we have some of that information to be broadcasting in breaking news tonight. But we're going to be mostly discussing and focusing on the NATO alliances in terms of the geopolitical situation that goes on within Haiti. The Dominican Republic now with alliances with France, which is a bit surprising if you ask me, because who would have thought? Who would have thought that Dominican Republic would align with France after all the situations that we had with France, all the issues we had with them over the last 300 years, and also with Haiti with France. So this is what we'll be discussing tonight. Feel free to put some comments on the comment section. Like and share and follow if you haven't followed me already. And let's go ahead and get started, guys. I know I was supposed to be here at 8, but I'm on Haitian time, meaning that 8-ish. I never, we always said the 8-ish time, Caribbean time. We on Caribbean time. When I say 8 is 8-ish, that's why Haitians, you tell them to come in at 8, they come in at 8:30, or Dominicans, that's Caribbean folks, is always 8-ish, 8:30-ish. Or Jamaicans. That's how we do the times. Don't ever listen to some Caribbean person who tells you they're gonna be at 8. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna be exactly at 8 out of live. If a Caribbean person ever tells you that, that's what you call Haitian time. That means that is not gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? So if they tell you 7:30, that's a little bit closer to the truth. But if they tell you 8, add another 30 minutes to an hour to that, because Caribbean people, that's how we gauge time. That's how we gauge time. So again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with me here on the live. We have around 25 folks here on the live. We had a little bit more yesterday, about 100. We're going to talk about some French secrets, NATO fracturing. We're also going to be talking about some French secrets in terms of the historical with Haiti and Toussaint Louverture. We're going to be discussing some information that just came into, and this is a bit of breaking news. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys want to participate on the panel, again, some of housekeeping rules is you guys have to be respectful. Ensure you have a picture on your profile and a name. If you don't have a real name and a real picture, you will not get invited up to the panel because we've had a lot of people with blackmail on social media. This is true. There's a lot of people on social media who use fake profiles, and this has been discovered recently by the FBI that they are doing a lot of phishing on social media with fake profiles, fake names. So if you're ever in a situation where you have a real name on social media and then you see hundreds of people with fake profiles, that's because you don't know either they're kids or teenagers. They just want to hide. Obviously for teenagers, I can understand it for kids. But if you're a grown adult with a name like, user 125, or Morpheus or Neo, you have to be concerned because why, or Darth Vader or something like that, why are they having a fake name when they're 30, 35, 25 years old on social media, right? Typically, when it comes to geopolitical content, there's a lot of people who hide their real identity because they like to do psyops mission. And this is something I'm going to reveal tonight. This is a bit of breaking news for people who don't know. The reason why you guys stopped seeing me in 2024 and 2023, when I had my channel and you guys saw that I had over uh, half a million likes and millions of views, what happened on my channel is that I had to leave the house I had, and then I was put into a situation where the CIA put me in a detention facility. I was thinking I was going to get VA care, and I was actually put into a DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and CIA holding site. That was a black site that I was put by the CIA back in 2024. So when you guys didn't see me for that 1 year, and and I was reporting that I didn't know what I was. I don't know if you guys remember that I was saying I don't know what I was. That's because the CIA held me in a CIA detention facility, a black site, for around 7 to 8 months, right? And they didn't even tell me I was in a CIA facility. They told me I was in a VA facility, but I found out, and everybody at the facility were actually police officer, undercover detectives, and I was sent to the VA hospital on a emergency situation because I got exposed to pox, right? I was exposed to a virus, and they had an ambulance 5 minutes standing by, and I almost died. So that's what happened in 2024. That the CIA closed down. They shut down my business bank account. They put me into a CIA holding facility, a black site, and nobody showed IDs, and everybody said they were veterans. And then when I asked them what branch of service or anything like that, they all stayed quiet and didn't show ID. I was in a black site, a CIA holding facility, for close to 1 year. And these people thought they were going to intimidate me because I was talking about geopolitics, and I was talking about the truth on TikTok. I was like one of the first people to talk about geopolitics about the Caribbean, DR, and Haiti on TikTok. And I was one of the first persons to talk about NATO, Europe, and the United States on TikTok. And I don't know what button I triggered, but you have to imagine if the CIA is willing to hold a U.S. Marine at a CIA black site and try to kill me, you could imagine what they would do to people who are not U.S. Marine, right? And they try to say, oh, we didn't know what party was. Motherfuckers, you knew what party I was. I'm a U.S. Marine veteran. You knew I'm with the U.S., and they illegally try to place Patriot Acts against me and try to say, oh, you're racist, this and that. Motherfucker, I had you before you join the Marine Corps, you have to do a background check. So not only the DOJ, the FBI, and the CIA do an illegal black site hold on me, they try to give me a Patriot Act, right? They try to block my finances, right? And they try to kill me multiple times at that holding site. Why? Because I'm speaking the truth? But there's millions of people speaking the truth. Why me? Maybe because I'm pressing hot buttons that the CIA didn't want to come out, right? But you have to figure. If they're willing to attack a United States Marine, the DOJ, the former DOJ, not the current DOJ, the former DOJ, the former CIA, the former FBI was willing to attack a United States Marine, putting me on a black site. The CIA put me on a black site for almost 8 to 9 months, and I was sent to the hospital. And the CIA tried to kill me while I was in the bed in the hospital. And one of the nurses had to run in, and they put over 50 injections on me, right? And then they blocked off all my bank and business accounts because they wanted me dead. The CIA wanted me dead in 2024. But guess what? I I overcame that thing to God, right? I overcame that thing to God, and then I sued them. I sued the DOJ. I sued the DHS. I sued the New York FBI. I sued all of them. And now they're hiding behind the scenes because there's a new administration. They're hiding behind the scenes because they thought I was going to be scared of the CIA. Listen, I'm with the most powerful people in the world, with God and his angels. I don't need to fear you. If you have fear, you should have never attacked me because no matter what you do, I'ma still say the truth. And I have evidence, and the CIA sent me a letter, and I have this letter saying that they don't know why I was attacked. But I know why I was attacked. Because the people who were in charge of the CIA, DOJ, and the FBI didn't want their secrets to come out, and I exposed their secrets. They didn't want me to talk about the topics that I was talking about, the DR, Haiti, the US, and NATO, and I exposed their secrets. And guess what? I went to the FBI building in 2024, and I met with the guard at the gate at the FBI building in New York, and I told them, if you have any problems against me, you bitch ass motherfuckers, and I told them, his boss, and I told the ones in front of me, if you got something to say, tell me in my face so we can handle our problem. But guess what? These cowards at the FBI who attacked me and the DHS and Homeland Security in 2024, now with the Trump administration, with the Biden administration, they had me in an FBI, DHS, CIA black site for almost 1 year. That's what happened to me, guys. If you're wondering what happened to me in 2024, and then next year after 2024, my father died in 2025. That's what happened. That's why I wasn't around, because I was held in a CIA facility, and they said they were military like me for almost a year. But guess what? They couldn't stop me. They couldn't block what I say. They couldn't talk over me because everything they did, God had an account for them. They try to put me in traps. They try to say I was a Muslim. I'm not Muslim. They try to say I was a racist. How I've been racist. They put me in a CIA holding site for almost a year. That's why you guys didn't see me for almost a year. Remember, I had the most popular TikTok show for geopolitics on TikTok. And that's what happened. Because I was talking about Haiti. I was talking about DR. I was talking about the US. I was talking about NATO. And people who used to listen to me on TikTok now have 500,000 to 1 million followers. That's what happened. If you guys want to know what happened to me, my father died last year in 2025. My aunt died the year before that. My other uncle died the year before that. I was held in a black site for almost a year. Guess why? Because these people want to shut me down, but they don't have the right to shut me down or the authority to shut me down because I'm on God's side. God is on my side. That's my attorney. Because even attorney, I sent over 100 attorneys. I sent over 100, over 1,000 lawsuits, over 100 attorneys, over 50 U.S. government agencies that I spoke to. They all were scared to respond. Guess why? Because they attacked the United States Marine on U.S. soil. They put a U.S. Marine on a black site on U.S. soil. They gave me 9 Patriot Acts. You know what that is? That's 8 more Patriot Acts than Osama bin Laden has. And the reason for this is because they were scared of what I was revealing to the world. They were scared because I know the truth. And when I speak, people listen, even if they don't want to listen. You know why? Because I've always done what I've said I'm going to do, and I've done exactly what I wanted to do, right? And if there's jealousy or hate on the other end of the spectrum, that's on them. But they can't hold my voice, and they can't block the truth. The DOJ on the Biden administration held me on a black site. I saved this old black lady in New York who was suffering and bleeding out on the streets of New York. I saved her, and I called the ambulance. I have pictures. I saved this black undercover agent who was tracking me in New York, and I saved his life while he wasn't paying attention on the highway. I pushed him out of the highway when a car was about to hit him. Guess why this wasn't reported? Because the DOJ wanted to entrap me for crimes because they couldn't figure out how this guy, how this Hispanic, how this Dominican, Puerto Rican guy achieved all this stuff without roadblocks, because I don't make excuses. And everything that I've said, I had a guy on TikTok who pretended to be a Marine, Carlos T. Quesada, with no name on social, who's related to the Dominican congressman in New York, right? And he tried to destroy my identity on social media, and this guy is not even brave enough to show himself on social media, or none of his people. Think about that for a second. This guy and his people, right? A Dominican congressman from New York, everybody knows who that is such a coward that he sent the DHS, the FBI, to put me on a black site with God knows who. I was in a black site for 1 year, almost a year, about 8 months. The CIA had me in a holding facility. That's what happened when you guys didn't see me. When you guys did, thank you very much, Don. When you guys didn't see me for that year, it's because the CIA tried to hold me. But they couldn't hold me because I had God on my side, and my father and my mom were praying for me. But guess what I told those bitch ass motherfuckers from the FBI? I went to their building in New York and I told them, if you want that heat, make that shit happen. And guess what they did? They backed the fuck down. Because there's some cowards, that's why. When you attack a U.S. Marine on U.S. soil, get ready for war. And that's what happened. I went in front of thousands of FBI agents in New York and I told them, I'm right here, why don't you arrest me then? If I committed a crime, why don't you arrest me then, you cowards? I went to the FBI building, and guess what they did? They ran. Biden's FBI ran and tried to give me a Patriot Act. These cowards. And they try to block my businesses. They try to block my education. They try to block my connection to my daughter. That's what these cowards do. That's what these cowards did in the Biden administration. They committed crimes because they thought a badge and a gun is going to save their life. But guess what? It doesn't matter if you have a badge and a gun, you still a coward. Because when you take off that badge, you just a man like me. When you take out that badge, you CIA and FBI agent, you're just a man like me. And guess what? No man in the last almost 40 years have confronted me and could tell you if they were going to fight me and told me that I wouldn't knock them the fuck out. And you can ask my brother from I grew up in the projects in Patterson, New Jersey, 4th Ward, and you can ask my brother if any dude from that era, this era, or the past has ever done that. I don't need to be a pro boxer. I'm not going to be a pro boxer. That's not me. My father knew who I was. I know who I am. My father passed away last year. The DOJ under Biden gave me a Patriot Act, multiple Patriot Acts, because they're scared of the truth. And because they're hiding now, everything is about, everything is about the guy with the kids, right? Everything is about the Epstein files now. But why are these cowards in New York, these FBI agents, right, who gave me a Patriot Act violation and basically kidnapped me, these CIA agents that were undercover with the DHS? Why are they hiding though? Why they don't want to go to court? You know why not? Because they know if they go to court, they get Article 8 and they get a violation, which they go to life in prison, called the Espionage Act, which means if you attack a U.S. citizen on U.S. soil, being an FBI agent, you go to jail for life. It doesn't matter what license you have. If you spy on a U.S. citizen on U.S. soil, you go to jail for life, motherfuckers. And that's why they're scared. Because even this Ecuadorian dude who pretended to have 2 kids, this little coward, right? He was trying to entrap me going to court without saying what it was, bringing evidence to a judge, and I found out what it was, right? They pretended, they put on a scene, they put on an act show. But listen, if you're CIA, FBI, DHS, and you're still coming at me, know this, that for everything you guys do, I got 1,000 on you. And this is not over. I got 1,000 on you. It doesn't matter how hard you try. It doesn't matter how hard you try to hide under your badge and your gun, right? You put me on a black site, and I didn't get to see my father before he passed away because of you motherfuckers, right? So guess what? If you thought this was gonna be a 1 year, 2 year deal, you're wrong. This is a lifetime deal. I'm a hunt you down for the next 50 to 60 years until you're all locked up. You messed with the wrong one, CIA, FBI. You put me on a black site, and my father passed away, and then you try to kill me at the same time. You messed with the wrong dude, and you still haven't realized that yet. This is not a game, right? And you're still lucky you're hiding behind your badge thinking this is a game or this is funny. This is not a game. You better give your life up to God like today, because this is not a 1 year, 2 year deal. For the next 50 to 60 years, I'm on your ass for the next 50 years. Unless I die, God willing I don't that young, I'm gonna be on you for the next 50. So you mess with the wrong right. Don't even open new cases, because the CIA already gave me a letter saying they know what happened, but they can't tell me what happened. But I know what happened. God told me what happened. I don't need the CIA to tell me. I know what happened. I'm a U.S. Marine. I know what happened. Right? Don't come to me with bullshit saying that, oh, and then you don't want to come in public, you don't want to come to court because you're hiding the truth, right? You're hiding from the truth, and then you try to put me on a CIA black site for 1 year, and then the next year my father just accidentally passes away? No. I'm gonna get this. Listen, I don't care what you guys do, you guys better go to Russia. If any of you are in the United States, so help me God. So help me God, you're going to be arrested for the rest of your life. So help me God. Because I know what you did. You try to infiltrate my family doing psyops. You close down my accounts, my business account. You put me on a black site, then you try to kill me, right? This is all evidence. This is all evidence of what happened. And what's going to happen is the DOJ is going to have to arrest these people. There are already a few arrested, not all. I don't care what level of government you're with, if you're a contractor, subcontractor to the CIA, DHS, NSA, or DIA, or DARPA. You're going to go to jail. You're going to get your ass locked the fuck up. Because you're a coward. Because instead of going through the legal process, right, you went about it the wrong way. You did crimes. You did espionage. You did corporate espionage. You did 18 color code. You try to frame me as a Muslim. I've never even done anything with any Muslim. You destroy my audience. You try to destroy my business. But listen, the truth always comes out, and the cowards always hide. That's so you know who the cowards are, right? Because listen, I've been saying the same thing for the last 3 or 4 years. A lot of these people who said they were XYC, they vanished. Guess what? I'm the only person who's on social media who magically somehow gets attacked and nobody wants to report it. Guess why? They don't want to dig into it, right? But when I confront them, they admit the truth. When I confront, just like the NATO thing, right? A lot of these people, a lot of these countries, they're pretending. They're sitting here and pretending like, oh, we're part of NATO, but all these countries are just people trying to taking advantage of the U.S. system, right? They're all taking advantage of the U.S. system. Not one of these countries has done anything to benefit the U.S. Now, I'm not saying we should leave NATO, but what I am saying is, if we're spending this much money on NATO, they should be taking action, right? Because look at Germany. They want to back up. You a coward if you back up like Spain. Look at France. You a coward if you do the same thing as Spain. And Spain has two of the biggest traitors in the EU, European Union, and NATO. The Prime Minister of Spain and the King of Spain. And then the French, with their intelligence agency, have some of the most corrupt and some of the most sabotaging assets you could even think of, right? These people love hiding behind the scenes. They're cowards. They love hiding behind the scenes, playing the little guitar so nobody knows who the fuck they are, right? But at the end of the day, we already know the truth. You don't need to play the guitar because we already know what's going on. You don't need to play the bass, right? Because the contract's not worth anything. Once the DOJ cancels that, guess what? You don't even have a license to practice, right? With the agencies. Now, these people, like I said, the CIA, DHS, DOJ, they put me in a holding facility, black site, CIA black site for 8 months, right? They didn't read me my rights, nothing. It's a black site. They just gave me like a fake Patriot that because they couldn't even get one from the judge because I didn't do anything, right? So these people, they continue to try to question me under the Patriot Act because, obviously they're not cops because if they don't even present who they are, right, then how are you even a cop? Because you're supposed to read the Miranda rights, right? And they try to question me, and I asked them a simple question, and I told them, what is the legal statute that gives you the right to question a Marine if you don't tell them what I'm doing or have done, illegally or legally? And they said, they shut up and left. So you don't even know the depths of these freaking people, right? But I know the depths of these people. And there's a lot of people online. There's a lot of people online who talk about the CIA, talk about DHS, talk about the FBI, talk about the government. But until you personally been into this situation where you've been attacked by the government, and I'm not talking about Trump's government. Nothing happened to me with Trump. Actually, thank God for Trump's government, because if it wasn't for Trump's government, I probably would have actually ended up dead. If it wasn't for Trump's government, because of Biden's government, I would have probably ended up dead. Because I was in a black site that was illegally holding me for no apparent reason. They didn't release my files. Right? And this is what I say. If they could hold illegally U.S. citizen, U.S. Marine on the U.S. soil illegally, pretending to be a military facility, because I know the difference. Civilians don't know the difference. They don't have no training. But I'm a U.S. Marine. I know who is CIA. I know who's a military person, and I know who's a civilian. Right? The CIA held me in a facility and pretended to be military veterans. And when I questioned them and asked them for the ID, they didn't show ID. You know why? Because if they would have shown ID, that's when you know you're in a black site. If they would have shown ID and I remember their name, I could use it against them in court. So that's what happened. And then because of the situation, a series of events happened where my father passed away last year. So now we're in a situation where they're going to have to come out. People who don't want to come out will have to come out. And what happens to someone who's a burnt spy, when burnt spies come out, they get arrested for life. Because you're not even supposed to be operating on U.S. soil, right? It's illegal for any three-letter agency to operate on U.S. soil against a U.S. citizen, especially against a United States veteran or Marine or Navy or any service member. So this is what happened to me, guys. If you ask what happened to this guy, you had the most popular show on TikTok. You had 500,000 over 500,000 likes. You know, I had the number one show on TikTok, even more than the Dominican government at that time. That's what happened. The CIA put me on a black site with access with the DOJ, the FBI, and DHS. And they gave me a fake Patriot Act. And when I filed FOIU, that's a filing, a federal filing to question why would they illegally file this against a U.S. veteran. You know what they said? We can't tell you why. Because we don't have the authorization, they said. That's what they said. They don't have the clearance to tell me why. And you know why they don't have the clearance? Because if they admit it, everybody in their agency is going to go to jail. That's why. And the people who did it have already been suspended for the majority. And the people hiding are going to be next up. So this is what happened. And the reason I could talk about geopolitics, the reason I could talk about the agencies, the reason I could talk about the military is because I've served. So I could talk about these topics for real. I could talk about these topics for real. Right? I'm not somebody here trying to gain fame. No, I'm trying to talk to you about these topics so I can expose some of these crimes that these people did during the Biden administration. Black Piccolo, Carlos T. Quesada, El Fuku, La Contraria, all these people. Because it's not over. You know, it's not over. And all these people who continue to hide until every single one of you geopolitical actors and handlers are in prison, I'm not going to stop. Every single one, even if it's my own family members, you're going to get locked the fuck up. I don't care who it is. It could be my own mother. If you attack me, you're going to get locked the fuck up. I don't care who it is. Because this shit is not a game. Losing time with my daughter and my pops passed away, then the black site, then they try to kill me they isolated me. I don't know if you guys understand what I'm trying to say. I was in a black site isolated for 5 days in the third floor of a building in a locked room after I had come out of the emergency room in a hospital and I couldn't even walk. So that's torture right there. That's called torture, right? Because you didn't even they didn't even put a nurse. So I don't give a fuck what you're talking about, your friends or or whoever you're talking about. I'm gonna find out who did what, and your ass is gonna get locked the fuck up, right? Because this is not a game. This is my life. So if you're still part of these people who want to continue to play this game, play their guitar, play their N64 or the PlayStation 5, don't worry. I promise you, I know who you are. I'm right here. I have the evidence, and you're going to get locked up. right? This shit is not over. The same thing with NATO. When I talk about NATO, listen, we in a war with Iran, Israel, and the U.S. at the Strait of Hormuz. Oil prices are going up. Why do I sound so aggressive? Because this is real life. This happened to me. You're not gonna hide information and tell me what I lived through, right? So what's happening now is the following. We have traitors in the EU, Spain, and we have the traitor of France, the king of Spain, who's a fake king, who was imposed by the Catholic Church in France. And NATO didn't do a background check on this guy, which they do on jobs, to find out who this guy was. Right? So France intelligence has weakened NATO because France, they benefited off of putting the House of Bourbon in Spain. The Catholic Church benefited from putting the House of Bourbon in Spain. Why? Because the money, the gold, the lands, the debt was Sephardic Spanish money that was held in Spain. Jewish Sephardic money. And because the French didn't want to pay their debt, the English didn't want to pay their debt, and the Catholic Church, they did the limpiamiento of the razas, the cleansing of the bloods. And that's why the Treaty of Utrecht was put in place. The Treaty of Utrecht was put in place to cancel the line of succession of Spain. The line of succession means who's actually the king of Spain based on the Roman Jewish, Sephardic Jewish bloodline. And guess what happened? The French didn't want the actual king of Spain to be in Spain. They wanted to bring in a French person to the house of Aragon and the Catholics of Spain. Why? Because it benefited them for conquering Africa. It benefited them from taking over Haiti and the Americas and the Caribbean if they put in a French king instead of having the actual sovereign of Spain in the house. That's why the Jews, the Sephardic Jews, the Spanish, who had wealth and banks, were kicked out of Spain because they owned gold. It's not because they were mixed blood. Yeah, they were mixed blood, but that's not the reason they got kicked out of Spain. They got kicked out of Spain because they had the wealth of Spain, and because the French didn't like that, they kicked everybody out. They kicked all the bankers out, they kicked all the noblemen and women out, and they kicked the royal family out of Spain. But why am I talking about this today? I'm talking about this today because it has to do with NATO. It has to do with the situation with Spain rejecting U.S. airspace, kicking out the U.S. from Spanish bases. It has to do with Spain trying to acquire Chinese fleets of planes. It has to do with Spain trying to block 1/4 of its citizens from the internet. It has to do with the King of Spain going to Mexico and avoiding the question of colonization. You know why? Because his family was not in the line of succession. What does that mean, Richard? It means because his family is not in the line of succession, he is not the King of Spain. He's a cosplayer royal of France. And so when you have a person like the Felipe VI, que no es el rey de España en verdad, es un francés impuesto por la Iglesia Católica y por Francia, la inteligencia, por eso que quemaron la casa, el castillo de Andaluz. The French intelligence burned that castle so that nobody would identify who were the real royals of Spain. Right? So this is what you have. You have French intelligence covering up for Spain, and you have Spain, who's a compromised vector in NATO. And that's actually what's going on And NATO is now weakened because of Spain and because of parts of France who don't want to reveal the truth of who the King of Spain really is. He's a compromise vector as well as the Prime Minister of Spain, right? Everything that he has done through his career is compromised. He's compromised Spain, he's compromised Europe, and and the EU and NATO, the Prime Minister of Spain is a traitor to the European Union and NATO, as well as the King of Spain. Because you might not hear much from the King of Spain, but he's plotting behind the scenes, like what he did with Spain, and then his mother, de que la reina, una tipa que ni tiene sangre ni de bone. His mom is a straight bump. Because how do you not even have Spanish blood, Spanish royal blood, and then you call yourself the Queen of Spain when your whole hierarchy is of secondary category? They're not even royal lineage of succession. So basically, we got to figure out now. NATO has a huge problem. Who are these people that are cosplaying to be Spanish kings in Spain, and who's controlling the King of Spain, the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister of France? So now we have a problem, and now we just seen it on the news the other day where the Prime Minister of France now wants to invest in the Dominican Republic. Why? Why you want to invest in the Dominican Republic over recently? Maybe because you want to align yourself closer to the people you did dirt to, the Haitians. But we don't need anything from the French. We don't need anything from the French. So that's what happened to me, guys. If you're wondering what happened to me in 2024, that I didn't have my show on the air, even though I had the #1 geopolitical show on TikTok, right? And even some of the people who used to listen to me now have like 500,000 followers. That's what happened. My account was suppressed, blocked. I was put into a black site. And then my father passed away last year. So it was a lot of stuff that happened. They tried to close down my businesses. They sent me cease and desist letter. They removed my book from publishing. Listen to this, how ridiculous this is. Hitler has books published. Hitler. You understand this, right? Hitler and some of the worst dictators on earth have published books. And they removed my book that was published, right? So think about how much these people had to hate me. That you have known dictators, right? Like Hitler and other dictators like Stalin with published books, and they removed my book from publishing, right? You have serial killers on death row with published books, and they removed my book from publishing. Think about how desperate these weak ass motherfuckers were. That they removed my book as a U.S. Marine who done nothing bad, and they left books of murderers, Hitler, Mussolini, all these different people who have killed millions of people around the world, and they just so happened to remove my book that didn't even have a curse word in it. My books don't even have curse words in it, and they removed my books. And even though you have murderers on death row who have published books, you have prisoners in maximum security jail that have published books, and they unpublished my book. And then when I called the publisher, they gave me an excuse that it wasn't copyright. So I asked them, if my book is not copyright, how come it's been copywritten and published for the last 5 years? And then you know what I did? And then they put it back. I sued the DOJ, and then they said, "Oh, we're sorry." And I'm like, why did you say sorry before I sued the DOJ? You know why? Because it was the DOJ who removed the book from publishing. The former DOJ. So you can't come to me with excuses about this is not what you think it is, because this is exactly what I think it is. And I'm heated because people think that there's people on social media that are just talking crap, talking about the government. They don't even know anything about the government. Talking about the military. They've never even served in the military. Talking about the CIA, FBI, and the police. They've never even been in any situation with them. And me, who've been attacked by my own government as a U.S. Marine veteran, as military member, they don't want to listen to what I have to say. Right? But it stops today. Every single day is going to get more serious. I'm going to bring out more proof. Not just talking online. More lawsuits. More arrests. More hunting people down and getting them locked up. This is not a game. And whoever's still playing the game with their mothers or playing guitar or thinking that they're just going to watch me, you're not going to watch me because you're going to get locked the fuck up. And this is not over. This is just beginning right now. This is not even 1% right now. So when you talk about war, understand that people are dying in these wars. And these are decisions that affect millions of people from around the world. This is not just social media stuff. And that's what people don't understand. They want to just talk about war like it's a game. This is not a game. There's kids, there's old people, there's families, there's women, there's people dying over decisions that people are making in the White House. There's people dying over decisions that people with evil intentions are making. You know, what I see from this situation is that Trump was trying to help the Iranian people with some freedom, but, you know, the situation is more aggressive in Iran than he was thinking it was similar to Venezuela. Right? So this is the situation that occurred. And then we had a Mexican influencer the other day talking about the Caribbean, talking about Haitians and Dominicans. He doesn't even know his own Mexican history. Talking about Haitians beat the French when the Mexicans were still fighting the freaking French in 1865. There were still French in Mexico in 1865. The Mexicans were the last people to fight the French. He doesn't even know his history and trying to give credit to the Haitians. The Haitians only beat a battalion of people, not the entire French army. That's why in 1825, they forfeited and had to pay France until 1947. See, people want to talk online. But when you meet up with a real professor, somebody who's actually done his studies for the last 10 to 20 years, oh, now you don't want to talk with me. Right? Now you want to step back. You want to run because now you don't. Now when a real professor steps in, now you want to get graded on a curve. When somebody who has the real education steps in, now you don't want to debate no more. You know why? Because you're a punk ass motherfucker. That's why. You don't want to debate because you never had no knowledge. You were going against scam artists, but when a real intellect comes in, you start running because you never had knowledge. You never had courage, you never had knowledge, and you don't have no experience. And that's what happens with all these online, like that Chan. He used to write stuff on the board. And now yesterday they found out he's a high school teacher. I told my brother over 3, 4, 5 months ago, when my brother showed me who that guy was, I'm like, bro, within 1 minute of my brother showing me, I told him, that guy is not a professor. Guess what? People who are professors don't write anything on the board, right? Unless it's something very strategic. And it's in accordance with a reference point that anybody could find. Because when you write academic papers, you have to be able to validate your theories and findings. That's what it's called. When you're an actual professor, you have to have facts of where you came to those conclusions. And see, that's why people are scared to debate me. Because they don't come with facts, they come with personal feelings and opinions. And you can never debate somebody who doesn't just come with personal feelings and opinions when somebody's actually, what? Knows what they're actually talking about. So you could run, you could hide, but I'm still finding your ass. You should have never started something you didn't want to get into. And that's the truth. So for the Haitians, get to know this. Toussaint Louverture knew some secrets about the French. And I'm going to end it today with this because I got so heated earlier on, I wasn't even going to talk about these topics. But I felt like God put me to talk about these topics. I guess certain people wanted the live, and He wanted me to talk. I had this whole live plan to just talk about NATO and the EU. And God put me in a situation where I started talking about the FBI, CIA, and I didn't even want to talk about that tonight. But you know what it is? You know what it is that the truth comes out. These people try to hide the truth for 3-4 years or longer. We know that they've been attacking me now for 15 to 30 years now, and probably my father 20 years before that. But why? What did my father knew that they were so scared of? Because I found evidence that they were attacking my father as early as he was around 30. I found evidence that they were tracking his locations. So it wasn't me that they were tracking. They were tracking my pops. And then I found evidence that they were tracking my grandfather. And then I found evidence that they were tracking my uncle. So this has nothing to do with me. This is about my lineage. And what lineage is the one I have that the CIA would want to kill me so aggressively since I was born? What is the lineage that I have that they trace my grandfather, my father, my uncle, my great grandfather? Why would they trace us and attack us for 300 years? What's my lineage? Why would the CIA say that they don't have the clearance after they already attacked me? So what clearance do you have to attack me then? Hey, now we're in a conspiracy. Now we're in a conspiracy. They don't have the clearance to tell me what it is, but they don't have the clearance to attack me either. So why did they attack me? Right? So now we're in a situation where the truth is going to have to come out. And people are hiding behind paperwork, behind badges, behind government agencies. Listen, you can only hide for so long. I'm still going to reveal the truth. So I apologize for those that I said this was just going to be about NATO. I know I've been on a rant there. I didn't even have this live prepared to be about my personal situations that occurred. But it's good that it came out because now they've been exposed down here. And if they want to continue to attack me and they want to continue to try to stop my progress, they're going to meet someone that they never wanted to meet. Because, this is the thing. God lets certain things to happen, right? For a reason. Because if the situation never had happened like it did with 2023, 2024, when I was in a CIA black site, I would have never known, and I would have never had all the evidence for all these people that were hiding to be locked up. Imagine if there were thousands of people who went through this type of situation with these people who were hiding, who were never able to find these people. The guy picked me, even though it was aggressive and it broke down a lot of things, because he knew I could find who these people were. He knew I would never back down. He knew I would identify these people. He knew I would chase these people to the end of the earth. He knew I would identify these people. I would bring these people to justice. And I think that's what God chose me for that mission. It's because he knew that all these hidden actors, CIA and DHS, DOJ contractors, that were hiding in the shadows, that were attacking citizens illegally behind the scenes in American soil, were going to be found out by me. And I think that's what God chose me to do that. Because he knew I would be relentless in finding them. That's why. And that's why sometimes certain people like Moses and like Joseph, sometimes some of the best leaders get attacked the most because of the potential is so great. It's like a diamond that God has to mold into from a rock to a coal, a chocolate coal, put pressure and cut the pieces to form into a diamond. Because diamonds don't get formed unless they're what? In pressure for millions of years. A piece of coal, a charcoal, is pressurized by the pressure of the earth and the moisture and the temperature. Then that creates diamonds over millions of years. So just like a rough piece of coal, God cut off all the missing ingredients for me to find these people who were hiding in the Americas, these double agents, these sleeper agents that were hiding. And now they're scared and they're running because these Iranian sleeper agents, right? These Chinese sleeper agents, these foreign sleeper agents and double agents, I have identified, and the DOJ knows I found a lot of them. And I didn't even have to drive anywhere. It's easy to find them. And now, what you're going to do? The only thing they can do is either they can say the truth or who identify these sleeper agents and double agents, or they could give it to another person. But at the end of the day, they know who filed those reports, who did the investigation, who uncovered and did the back tracing on them. They can lie about their age, who they are, who their family. They can set traps for people, hide within different identities with DSNs. But guess what? I still found you. And it doesn't matter what country you came from. You can say your mother was Spanish, or your father's Dominican, or you're whatever, you're doing whatever. I still knew who you were from the very first day. Right? So it doesn't matter what you say because you already been found, identified, and reported. Okay? So listen, I didn't come here to be all dramatic, and I know this is crazy stuff I'm talking about right now. It's beyond breaking news. Beyond breaking news. But you know what? That's fine. I don't need the 500,000 likes that I had before when I first started on TikTok. Because when I first started on TikTok, I was just talking about history and Dominicans versus Haitians. But guess what? It doesn't really matter about Dominicans versus Haitians, right? Because those are not the people doing all the problems. You know, what really matters is what's going on in NATO. Who are these government actors? Where are they spending our money in the US, NATO, and overseas? So now it doesn't matter if I have 1, 3, or 5 people on my live. It doesn't matter. The only thing that does matter is that the truth comes out. And I appreciate you guys being here with me on the live. I know I went into some deep emotional, legal, and governmental stuff, but I had to say it because these things have to come out. Whether governments don't want them to come out, they're gonna come out anyways. So I'd rather have it come out from me than you guys hear from a reporter or the news, the paper, online journalist, a court. Listen, I've sued over 350 courts around the world in the last 8 months alone. And guess what the courts did? They filed and didn't even want to respond because they're so scared of the consequences. I contacted over 1,000 attorneys over the last 12 months. 1,000 attorneys. Not one of them replied. You know why? They scared of the people who were in power and retaliation. But guess what? Even without the attorneys, God sued them. And a lot of those attorneys that didn't want to sue the DOJ, guess what happened? God still fired them. God still replaced all of them. That's the funny part. They didn't want to sue. They were too scared. But guess what happened? God fired the people at the FBI who were attacking. God fired the people, right? It's a funny way they say like, "Oh, I have your back." When people get scared because they think it's a situation so big that nobody can protect you from, God showed me that He still had my back because the people that were doing things illegally, they were arrested. The people who were hiding in the government, they were arrested. The people that had secrets, the secrets came out. So all that stuff came out. So hey, it worked out. Again, thank you guys for being on the live. I know I didn't want to go into this. I wanted to even have people on the panel tonight. But I guess this is the way the information just came out tonight. So thank you guys for being on the live with me. I'm sorry I was so aggressive tonight. It's because some of this topic became personal. Not about NATO and the EU, but it just became personal because of all the circumstances that are happening. So I want to thank you guys for being with me here on the live. You guys been gracious. I appreciate you guys listening to what I have to say. And I know next time we're going to have it more entertainment. I'm not going to be so military aggressive and governmental. But this is kind of my topic. I just want to be honest about the situation so that you guys understand there's a lot of bad actors behind the scenes. Not just people that you think are on a conspiracy level, but there's actual real consequences with some of these actors. And I have some shows that are coming in. They want to find about Tucson, a little bit tour, some of the secrets that I was going to disclose with you guys. But that's going to have to be another night because I've already shared quite a bit of information tonight. So make sure you guys follow and like and share the live if you guys like this kind of content. I know I went kind of aggressive in on the first stance. Hey, I wasn't expecting that to have that emotional reaction. But again, thank you guys very much for coming in and being here with me tonight, sharing some of the geopolitical, sharing some of the personal experiences I had with the three-letter agencies personally around the world, and some of my experiences that I had, with some of the failures to some of the lawsuits and things like that I've done through the years. So thank you guys very much. You guys can see now that my perspective is not just about talking about geopolitics, that I've actually sued many of these agencies, talked to many of these people from across the world, and I have actually been attacked personally, even to this day, on certain situations where are continuing to happen and developing due to the situation that have occurred due to the progression of these government attacks. So again, thank you guys and have a good day.